beloved chosen one. Slow down and listen. What you are experiencing right now is not random discomfort, not emotional instability, and certainly not failure. It is divine misalignment being exposed. God is deliberately stripping away what no longer fits the version of you He is calling forward. The tension you feel is proof that you are growing beyond old containers. There was a time when certain routines felt safe, certain people felt familiar, certain goals felt good enough. But now, those same things feel heavy. You wake up tired even after rest. You feel irritated by conversations that once entertained you. You feel a quiet resistance in your spirit when you try to return to old patterns. This is not rebellion. This is discernment awakening. Look at your work life. You may still be competent, still respected, still productive, but something feels off. You go through the motions, yet your soul feels disengaged. God often strips purpose before He strips position. He lets the job remain while the passion fades, so you won't confuse provision with calling. The stripping is mercy. If He didn't disturb you, you would settle. Look at your finances. Perhaps you are earning more than ever, yet peace is missing. Or maybe money feels tighter than before, forcing you to question where your security truly lies. God removes false stability so He can become your source again. When finances shift unexpectedly, it is often because God is breaking agreement with dependence, not punishing you, but retraining you. Now look at relationships. Some people no longer understand you. Others accuse you of changing. Some quietly disappear. These are not accidents. God removes proximity before He removes purpose. People who were assigned to an earlier version of you cannot survive the stripping without resisting it, and resistance reveals misalignment. This is where the process hurts. Because even when something no longer fits, it can still be familiar. You grieve what you are outgrowing. You miss the old rhythm. You miss being understood without explanation. God allows this grief not to weaken you, but to mature you. Immaturity clings, maturity releases. There is a very ordinary scene playing out in your life right now. You sit alone, maybe in your car, maybe in your room, maybe staring at your phone, and you feel the urge to go back to the relationship, back to the habit, back to the comfort zone. That is the moment of decision. Don't do it, no matter the price. Returning to what God is stripping will cost you what He is preparing. What you call loss, heaven calls weight reduction. What you call ending, God calls fitting room. He is removing what restricts movement, because where you are going requires agility, clarity, and strength. The voice of God speaks clearly through the words recorded in the book of Hebrews. Chapter 12, verse 11. No discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. Later on, however, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace for those who have been trained by it. Notice the word trained. Stripping is training. It teaches you how to live without leaning on crutches you thought you needed. It teaches you to hear God without noise. It teaches you to move without permission. Hope does not disappear in this season, it becomes sharper. You begin to sense new direction. You notice doors you never considered before. You feel drawn to growth instead of distraction. You start valuing peace over popularity, obedience over applause. These are signs that the stripping is working. Picture a tree in winter. To the untrained eye, it looks dead. No leaves, no fruit. But underground, roots are strengthening. Space is being created for future growth. God strips externally so internal systems can expand. Here is the question you must face honestly. Are you willing to let God remove what feels good now, so you can receive what is right later? Because what is coming cannot be carried by who you used to be. Before we move forward, If this message aligns with your current season, pause and respond. Like this message. Share it with someone who is confused by their current discomfort. Subscribe to stay connected, and in the comments type 333 as a declaration that you are allowing God to strip what no longer fits. This is not rejection. This is refinement, and it has only just begun. Chosen one, the silence you are walking through is not abandonment. It is holy surgery. God has pulled you into isolation not to break you, but to reach places in you that could never be accessed in a crowd. When noise is removed, truth becomes unavoidable. And right now, God is committed to your truth more than your comfort. You did not choose this loneliness. It chose you. Invitations slowed down. Messages stopped coming. Rooms that once welcomed you now feel distant. At first, you wondered if you had done something wrong. But isolation is not always correction. Sometimes it is protection. God separates before he elevates, because certain callings cannot be formed in company. Isolation reveals what companionship used to cover. When people were around, you didn't notice how much you depended on their affirmation. When distractions were available, you didn't realize how often you avoided your own thoughts. Now, without constant voices, you are forced to confront what truly lives inside you. This is especially visible in family dynamics. You may still love them deeply, yet you feel misunderstood. Conversations stay surface level. When you try to explain your inner changes, you sense resistance or dismissal. God allows this distance so you won't shape your obedience around family expectations. Calling often requires clarity that familiarity can blur. At work, isolation looks different. You may still be surrounded by coworkers, yet you feel unseen. Your ideas no longer land the same. Your values don't match the culture anymore. You eat lunch alone more often, not because you were rejected, but because you no longer fit the rhythm. God isolates internally before he moves you externally. There is also financial isolation. You stop asking people for help. You stop explaining your plans. You carry decisions quietly. This is not pride. This is God teaching you to hear him without crowd consensus. When provision depends on obedience, clarity becomes essential. Isolation is where false identities die. You can no longer perform. You can no longer hide behind busyness. You can no longer borrow confidence from others. You are left alone with God, and that is exactly where he rebuilds you. There are nights when the quiet feels loud. You replay old conversations. You question your worth. You wonder if you misheard God. This is where many people compromise. They reconnect with what God disconnected, not because it was right, but because it was familiar. But isolation is not punishment. It is preparation. Think of a surgeon. Before the healing begins, the patient is separated, anesthetized, and cut open. No audience, no noise. Precision requires stillness. God is performing precision work on your discernment, your motives, your dependency patterns. And precision cannot be rushed. Here is an everyday scene. You scroll through your phone and realize there is no one you want to text. Not because you have no contacts, but because no one feels aligned with what you are carrying. That realization hurts, but it is also evidence of growth. You are no longer willing to leak sacred things into unsafe spaces. Isolation also sharpens your hearing. You notice promptings you used to ignore. Conviction comes faster. Peace becomes your compass. You begin to sense when something is off without needing proof. This is not paranoia. This is spiritual maturity being trained in quiet. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Jeremiah, chapter 15, verse 19. If you repent, I will restore you that you may serve me. If you utter worthy, not worthless word, you will be my spokesman. Let this people turn to you, but you must not turn to them. That last line is critical. Let them turn to you, but you must not turn to them. God isolates you so you stop turning back for validation. Because where He is taking you, leadership will require emotional independence. Hope lives here too, even if it feels hidden. In isolation, your confidence stops being performative, your faith stops being borrowed, your obedience stops being delayed by opinions. You become rooted instead of reactive. Picture a seed planted deep underground. Darkness surrounds it, pressure covers it, silence dominates. But that environment is not hostile, it is necessary. Growth requires concealment before visibility. God hides what He intends to multiply. Isolation also reveals who God truly is to you. Not the God of group worship, not the God of shared testimonies, but the God who meets you when no one is watching. The God who speaks when you stop talking. The God who stays when everyone else leaves. Let me ask you plainly, are you willing to stay isolated long enough for God to finish His work? Or will you escape early and remain unfinished? Because isolation does not last forever, but its effects determine what comes next. You are not being sidelined. You are being centered. And when God is done, you will re-enter rooms carrying authority that only solitude can produce. Before God ever changed Jacob's name, He changed the way Jacob walked. And before He touched Jacob's future, He isolated Jacob completely. Scripture tells us that Jacob was left alone at night, separated from his family, his servants, his possessions, everything he used to define safety. That moment was not an accident. It was divine isolation for a divine encounter. Jacob had spent his entire life striving. He manipulated outcomes. He negotiated blessings. He ran ahead of consequences. Even his name meant deceiver, supplanter, one who grabs the heel. Outwardly, he looked successful: wealth, family, position. Inwardly, he was exhausted from becoming someone instead of being transformed. That night, God did not speak first. God wrestled. Jacob thought he was fighting a man, but he was actually being confronted by God at the root of his identity. No audience, no backup, no escape, just pressure, resistance, and exposure. God isolated Jacob not to scare him, but to strip him down to truth. This story matters for you because many of you are in a similar night emotionally, spiritually, practically. You look fine on the outside. You still show up to work. You still handle responsibilities. You still smile when required. But inwardly, something is wrestling you. You cannot outrun it. You cannot explain it away. You cannot ignore it anymore. You feel it in your daily life, at work. Strategies that used to work no longer do. You push harder, but results stall. In finances, old formulas don't bring peace anymore. In relationships, charm and compromise stop working. God is touching the root, not the surface. Jacob wrestled until his strength ran out. And that's the point. God does not overpower you to humiliate you. He waits until self-reliance is exhausted, because blessing cannot rest on control. Calling cannot rest on manipulation. Identity cannot rest on performance. There is a moment when Jacob realizes he cannot win, and instead of letting go, he clings. That is the shift from striving to surrender, from I will take to I will not let go unless you bless me. That sentence alone reveals maturity. Jacob finally wanted blessing from God, not blessing instead of God. Many of you are wrestling right now in ordinary settings, sitting in traffic, questioning your direction. Lying in bed, replaying conversations, standing in the shower, feeling tears you didn't plan. These are not emotional weaknesses, these are divine confrontations. God is not fixing behavior, He is touching identity. You may limp afterward. Jacob did. The encounter left a mark, but the limp was proof of authenticity. From that day on, Jacob could no longer pretend he won by his own strength. Every step reminded him, God touched me here. And notice this, God did not remove the limp, He removed the lie. Your limp may look like humility where pride used to live, boundaries where people-pleasing used to operate, silence where constant explanation once dominated. The limp slows you down, but it also keeps you aligned. Here is a real-life picture. You no longer rush into decisions. You pause, you pray, you wait. Others think you've lost momentum, but you've actually lost illusion. You no longer need to be everywhere, impress everyone, or prove anything. That is not weakness, that is transformation. The ancient words recorded in the book of Genesis, chapter 32, verse 24 declare, "So Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him till daybreak." Left alone. That phrase explains your season. God isolates before He renames, because names carry authority, and authority requires truth. Jacob asked for a blessing, but God asked him a question first. What is your name? God already knew the answer. The question was for Jacob. Until you say the truth about who you've been, you cannot step into who you're becoming. God renamed him Israel, one who wrestles with God and prevails, not by force, but by surrender, not by control, but by encounter. Hope rises here. Because after that night, Jacob didn't walk back into life the same way. He walked marked, aligned, a little slower but far more powerful. What once chased him no longer defined him. Let me ask you directly, what part of your identity is God wrestling right now, not to destroy you, but to rename you? If this speaks to your night season, write in the comments, hold on, not as a trend, but as a declaration that you will not let go of God in this wrestling, even when it costs you comfort, speed, or pride. Because morning always comes after the wrestle, and those who endure the night never walk into daylight the same. Chosen one, there is a sacred permission God is giving you in this season, and it is one many believers were never taught how to receive. God is allowing you to grieve openly, honestly, without rushing yourself into spiritual explanations. This is not a lack of faith, this is maturity. What God removed still mattered. What He stripped away still held weight in your life. The job you lost was not nothing. The relationship that ended was not imaginary. The future you pictured was not foolish. And God is not offended by your tears over what once fit but no longer could remain. One of the most damaging lies people carry is this: if it was God's will, I shouldn't feel pain. But God never demanded emotional denial as proof of obedience. He invites truth. You cannot heal what you refuse to acknowledge. Here is the first practical direction for this season: allow yourself to mourn without correcting yourself. When sadness rises, resist the urge to immediately say, "At least God knows best." That sentence may be true, but timing matters. Gratitude is powerful, but when used too early, it becomes a bandage over an open wound. In daily life, grief often appears quietly. You finish your responsibilities, come home, and sit in stillness longer than usual. You don't reach for noise, you don't reach for people. You just sit. That moment is not emptiness, it is your soul catching up to change. Another practical step: name the loss clearly, not vaguely, not spiritually masked. Say it plainly. I lost stability. I lost belonging. I lost who I thought I would be by now. When grief has language, it stops leaking into every other area of your life. Many of you are grieving things no one else sees. You grieve years you invested. You grieve effort that didn't return fruit. You grieve the version of yourself that believed endurance would guarantee arrival. These are quiet griefs, but they are real. In family settings, grief often hides behind politeness. You sit at the table, smile at the right moments, answer questions without depth. Inside, something aches. Do not shame yourself for that ache. Your heart is processing change at a pace faster than your environment can understand. Here is another gentle instruction: let yourself cry without narrating it. You do not owe explanations to everyone. Tears do not need permission. They are not a statement. They are a release. God receives what others misinterpret. The danger is not grief. The danger is unresolved grief pretending to be strength. That is how bitterness takes root. That is how exhaustion becomes chronic. God would rather you be honest now than hardened later. Think of grief like rain. If resisted, it floods. If allowed, it softens the ground. What feels like breaking down is actually making the soil receptive again. Even Jesus modeled this, standing before Lazarus' tomb. Knowing resurrection was moments away, he still wept. That moment dismantles the lie that hope cancels grief. Love grieves even when it trusts God fully. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms, chapter 34, verse 18. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. Closeness requires honesty. God does not draw near to performance. He draws near to truth. Brokenhearted does not mean faithless. It means open. Here is where hope becomes tangible. Grief evolves. One day you notice you can breathe again. Another day you laugh without guilt. Later, you remember without collapsing. That is not forgetting, it is healing. A practical practice for this season: create a moment of release. Write down what you are letting go of. Fold the paper. Pray simply. Let it rest somewhere meaningful. Your soul needs participation, not suppression. In your ordinary routine, watch for God's quiet care. A conversation that brought peace, a night of rest after heaviness, a moment where clarity briefly returned. These are not random. They are God sitting with you. Let me ask you gently, what grief have you been invalidating because you thought faith required silence? And if this space has felt like shelter, if these words have felt like sitting under a tree while the storm passed, then honor that moment. To leave a like is like lighting a small candle, not to draw attention, but to say, "This light helped me see." To share this message is like handing a blanket to someone shivering quietly, someone who hasn't found language for their pain yet. And to subscribe is not a click, it is choosing a path, saying, "When the night comes again, I won't walk it alone." No pressure, no demand, only invitation. God is not rushing you, He is walking with you. And the same hands that allowed the stripping are gentle enough to wipe your tears. Chosen one, there comes a point in the stripping where God is no longer removing things around you. He is addressing what you are still gripping inside. This is the phase most people misunderstand. Nothing dramatic changes outwardly, yet inwardly, the pressure increases. This is where obedience confronts emotional attachment. You already let go of what was clearly wrong. You already walked away from what was unhealthy. But now God is pointing to things that are not sinful or destructive, just familiar. Familiarity carries memory, effort, identity, and control. Letting go here feels personal. This shows up in your work life. You are not failing, you may even be succeeding. People rely on you. You know how to win here. Yet something inside you is restless. God is asking you to move, not because this place is bad, but because growth has ended here. Attachment whispers. Stay until it's safe, obedience whispers. Move while I lead. It appears in finances too. You are responsible. You have plans and projections. But when God nudges you to give or step forward, attachment tightens. You delay, you negotiate. Wisdom matters. But when it shields you from trust, obedience is postponed. Relationships are often hardest. Not toxic ones, just people who know the old version of you. They feel safe because they recognize who you were, but they struggle to honor who you're becoming. Letting go feels disloyal. Staying feels heavy. This is where many people stop progressing, not because they reject God, but because they compromise. Partial obedience feels reasonable, but it never produces peace. God is not asking you to release attachment to punish you. He is asking because what you are holding will not survive the next level. What once supported you will soon restrict you. Here is how this battle plays out daily. You feel prompted to act, send the message, make the decision, create the boundary, but instead you explain. Rehearse reasons and wait for clarity. Deep down, you know this is not patience. This is attachment delaying surrender. Obedience rarely looks heroic. Most of the time, it is quiet and inconvenient. It asks you to move without applause and trust without control. That is why it forms authority. The voice of God thundered clearly in the book of Exodus, chapter 23, verse 20. See, I am sending an angel ahead of you to guard you along the way and to bring you to the place I have prepared. God goes ahead. Protection is assigned. The place is prepared. Obedience is not stepping into chaos, it is stepping into provision unseen. Hope enters here. The moment you release what you've been gripping, peace returns. Peace is the first confirmation. Not comfort. Not results. Think of Abraham lifting Isaac onto the altar. God never intended to remove the promise, only Abraham's grip on it. What you place on the altar, God can return transformed. In daily life, obedience looks small but decisive. Saying no without explanation. Giving when it stretches you. Resting when pressure says perform. These are rehearsals for greater trust. Attachment argues, if I let this go, I'll lose everything. Obedience answers, if I let this go, God remains. Let me ask you plainly, what are you still holding, not because God told you to keep it, but because it feels familiar? If this message touches the place where you've been hesitating, mark this moment. In the comments, write 5, 5, 5, not as a trend, but as a signal that you are choosing obedience without bargaining. 5 represents grace here, grace multiplied. You are not behind. You are standing at the threshold where obedience reshapes your future. What you release now is making room for what God already prepared ahead. The number 555 represents a moment of transition where grace meets movement. It signals that delay is ending and motion is required, not rushed action, but obedient action. This number appears when God is asking you to step forward without demanding full visibility. 555 also marks the breaking of old emotional contracts. It means what once felt necessary is no longer required for survival. Grace is being multiplied so you can move without clinging, choose without fear, and trust without needing reassurance from familiar structures. Finally, 555 is a confirmation of alignment. It does not promise ease, but it promises guidance. When you write it, you are not predicting outcomes, you are agreeing with direction. You are saying yes to movement, even while the road ahead is still unfolding. Chosen one. There is a quiet but critical shift that happens after obedience has been chosen and grief has been honored. It is the moment when God stops removing and begins entrusting. Nothing external announces it. No one claps. But inwardly, something stabilizes. You realize you are no longer reacting, you are discerning. This is the season where strength is redefined. Before, strength meant endurance, holding on, surviving pressure, proving resilience. But now, strength looks different. It looks like restraint, like choosing not to respond to what once triggered you, like saying less and meaning more, like walking away without needing the last word. You are learning that power does not always raise its voice. Sometimes it lowers it. This shows up in everyday situations. At work, you notice you no longer rush to prove your value. You do your work with excellence, but without anxiety. You are not detached, you are grounded. You let results speak instead of defending yourself preemptively. This calm is not indifference, it is confidence refined by surrender. In finances, strength now looks like trust paired with wisdom. You still budget, you still plan. But you are no longer ruled by fear of lack. You don't panic when numbers fluctuate. You respond, not spiral. This is the fruit of a season where false security was stripped away and replaced with dependence that steadies rather than weakens. In relationships, strength becomes boundaries without bitterness. You can be kind without being consumed, present without being drained. You stop explaining yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. Not because you are cold, but because you are clear. There is a subtle grief here too. You realize how much energy you used to spend reacting, how much emotional labor went into managing perceptions, how heavy it was to carry roles God never assigned. And you quietly thank God for removing that weight, even if the removal was painful. This is also where temptation changes form. It no longer shows up as obvious wrongdoing. It shows up as overextension, as rescuing, as returning to old roles because they feel useful. But discernment whispers now. You pause. You ask, is this mine to carry? And often, the answer is no. You are learning to let God be strong through you, not just for you. The apostle reminds us in his second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 12, verse 9. My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. This verse is often misunderstood. Weakness here does not mean collapse. It means surrender. It means no longer relying on self-generated strength. God's power does not compete with yours, it replaces what exhausts you. You begin to notice that when you stop forcing outcomes, things align more naturally. Conversations soften, decisions clarify. Doors open without manipulation. This does not mean life becomes effortless. It means effort becomes focused. There is a daily practice forming in you now, responding from rest. You check your spirit before you check your calendar. You pray before you plan. You move deliberately instead of compulsively. This is not passivity. It is precision. People may misread this season. They may think you've become distant, slower, less ambitious. But what they don't see is that you are no longer scattered. Your energy is concentrated, and concentrated energy carries weight. You are also becoming comfortable with not being immediately understood. That used to bother you. Now, it doesn't. You trust timing. You trust process. You trust that what God is doing in you will eventually explain itself. This season trains you to carry responsibility without ego, to lead without control, to serve without depletion. These are not natural skills. They are formed only through stripping, surrender, and sustained obedience. Here is a simple, ordinary moment that reveals this growth. Someone tries to pull you into urgency that isn't yours. A crisis that used to hook you emotionally, and you feel the old reflex rise, then settle. You choose peace. That choice is strength. You are not withdrawing from life. You are engaging it from a healthier center. This is preparation for what comes next. Because future assignments will require clarity under pressure, authority without aggression, compassion without compromise. And those qualities cannot be rushed into existence. They must be formed slowly, quietly, deeply. Let this season do its work. You are not becoming weaker. You are becoming unshakable. And when the next door opens, and it will, you will walk through it not as someone desperate to prove worth, but as someone anchored enough to steward what God entrusts. This is the strength that remains after the stripping. Chosen one, now you stand lighter than before. Not because life suddenly became easy, but because what was never meant to follow you has finally fallen away. You can feel the difference. Your breath is deeper. Your steps are steadier. Your spirit is quieter but clear. This is what remains after the stripping alignment. You no longer wake up chasing approval. You no longer measure your worth only by productivity. You no longer need constant confirmation to trust the direction you are walking. What once rattled you now simply informs you. What once tempted you to turn back now reminds you why you left. You are not who you were at the beginning of this journey, and you are not yet the final version of who you will become. But you are ready. Ready does not mean fearless. Ready means anchored, able to move without being dragged by the past. Look at your life now in practical terms. Your work may not have fully changed yet, but you have. You pause instead of rushing. You listen before reacting. You no longer confuse urgency with importance. This inner shift alone will reshape your future. Financially, you are learning a new language: stewardship without panic. You still plan. You still prepare. But money no longer has the final word over your peace. Provision now feels relational, not transactional. In relationships, you are more selective but also gentler. You don't chase distance or beg for closeness. You honor seasons. You allow space. You recognize endings without turning them into accusations. This is emotional maturity formed by refinement. Here is something many don't expect after the stripping piece does not arrive with fireworks. It settles like morning light. Quiet. Gradual. Certain. One day you realize you are no longer fighting yourself. That is victory. There will still be resistance ahead. Stripping does not remove challenge, it prepares you to face it without losing yourself. You now recognize misalignment faster. You won't pick up weight you already learned to release. You are becoming someone who moves with intention, someone who knows when to speak and when to remain silent. Someone who understands that obedience does not need drama to be powerful. The ancient words recorded in the book of Romans, chapter 8, verse 28 still echo today. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. All things, not only victories, but isolations, grief, delays, and stripping. None of it was wasted. Every removal made room. Every tear softened ground where purpose could grow. You do not need to announce your next season. Fruit speaks without defense. Authority does not argue. When God finishes refining someone, their life begins to speak for itself. There is a quiet confidence growing in you now, not arrogance, assurance. You trust God not because plans succeeded, but because you met Him when they fell apart. Let me ask you one final question. Are you willing to walk forward without dragging pieces of your old life behind you? Because what is ahead requires freedom of movement. And if this journey from stripping to surrender has felt like crossing a long bridge wrapped in fog, pause here for a moment. Some crossings deserve acknowledgement. To like this message is like placing your hand on the bridge railing. feeling the solid wood beneath your palm and whispering, "I made it this far." To share it is like leaving a lantern burning behind you, so others know the path is real and survivable. And to subscribe is like choosing to keep a compass in your pocket, not because you are lost, but because you respect the terrain ahead. No obligation, only recognition. Some will walk on quietly, carrying this message like a private scar turned into strength. Others will leave a sign not to be seen, but to say, "This mattered." Both are sacred. What matters most is the movement. You keep walking. You were never being emptied, you were being prepared. The weight is gone, the road is open. Walk forward now, chosen one, lighter in spirit, clearer in vision, and steady enough to carry what comes next. What you step into next will not shout for attention. It will recognize you. Doors will open quietly. Peace will walk ahead of you. And you will know this path fits who you have become. Walk without looking back. The weight you released cannot follow you. What remains is purpose, clarity, and enough grace for each step. The rest will meet you on the way. And now, chosen one, we do not close this with certainty or conclusions. We leave it open because real transformation does not end when words stop. It continues in the quiet moments after. In the pause, in what you carry with you when the sound fades. If something in this message resonated, it was not because the words were powerful. It was because they touched something that was already awake inside you. Truth always recognizes truth. And when that happens, you don't need to be convinced. You simply know. You may walk away with one sentence echoing, one image lingering, one realization gently unsettling old patterns. That is enough. You don't need to remember everything. You only need to keep what met you personally, what stirred you, what named something you had been feeling but couldn't articulate. And if this journey feels worth passing on, let it be like offering water, not insisting, not persuading, just setting it down where someone else might be thirsty. Sharing is not about noise. It is about generosity, about saying, "This helped me breathe. Maybe it will help you too." But if sharing doesn't feel right, that is okay. Some truths are meant to be kept, not broadcast. Some moments are private encounters between your soul and God. You are allowed to protect what is sacred to you. What matters is not what you do with this message publicly, but what it awakens privately. How it shapes your next choice, how it softens your reactions, how it strengthens your resolve to keep walking lighter than before. You don't need to rush. You don't need to decide anything right now. Let this settle. Let it find its place. Let it work quietly, the way real things do. If you come back to this path again, you will recognize it not because it looks the same, but because you do. And whether you carry this forward or simply carry it within you, know this: what touched you here was not an accident. Walk gently from here. Keep what is yours. Release the rest. The road remains open.